Hey, what's going on, YouTube? It's Falsa, and we're back with another instance of the Big Pet Data Project. It's been a little bit since I brought you the last instance of that. I've collected a bunch more data. Obviously, some things happened in the meantime, but I thought I'd give you an update where I'm at and where I intend to go with this project. All right, so just to level set everyone, remember we were looking at two primary data points. The first is the quality of the pet when you catch it. And the second was the chance you're going to get the skill you want. In other words, the talent skill. Okay, so the quality of the pet when you catch it, we were really looking at two things. The first is the rarity of the pet. Is it rare, or epic, or legendary? And the second thing we were looking at is the star level of the talent skill when you catch the pet. Okay, so in terms of the rarity of the pet, the data here is pretty unchanged from last time. About 94% of the pets I catch these days are blue or rare. A mere 5% are epic, and then 1%, actually slightly less than 1%, are legendary. All right, the second thing we were looking at is the quality of the talent skill when you catch the pet. And 92% of the time, I'm getting 0-star talent skills when I catch a pet. 8% of the time, I'm getting a 1-star. And statistically close to 0%, but slightly greater than 0% of the time, I'm getting a 2-star talent. I did actually catch one 2-star talent skill just recently, and it's this guy right here. Okay, the next thing we were looking at is the chances that you get the skill you're looking for. In other words, the talent skill. And we're testing two separate things here. The first thing we're testing is what I call the rig the deck method. And just to remind you, what I do with that is I regenerate the pet down to 2 talent slots. Then I raise the skill level of the other skill to 1 above whatever the talent skill is here, right? So because the talent skill here is 0 stars, I'm going to make this Poison Gland a 1-star talent, right? So just go ahead and buy some Poison Glands, go back to the pet, upgrade the talent skill. And then I release the pet and see what the results are. Now I did that with a 0-star, but it works just as well with a 1-star. I have a 1-star here, and I'll show you what I do with that. So same thing, I regenerate it down to 2 talent slots, okay? And then I go to my inventory and I check out what sort of cheap 1-star talents I already have, right? So Outburst of Rage, I have 3 of those. That's a cheap skill, so that's pretty good. So what I'll do is I'll go and buy 5 0-star Outbursts of Rage, then a single 1-star Outburst of Rage. I go back to the pet. I put Outbursts of Rage on it in place of, Great Care in this case. Upgrade Outbursts of Rage. So now it's 1-star. Now I have 4. I had 3 before, and I bought the 1 to make 4. So that's enough to upgrade it to 2 stars. And then I go ahead and release the talent. And I got lucky. I got the 1-star, so that's good. When it comes to rigging the deck, I'm getting the skill I want, the talent skill, overall 77% of the time. When it's a 0-star talent skill versus a 1-star secondary skill, I'm winning 79% of the time. And when it's a 1-star versus a 2-star, I'm winning 71% of the time. I think that's probably just noise. The 1-star versus 2-star is still a pretty small sample size. So I figure this percentage probably is in the mid to low 70s somewhere. All right, the other method I use is the coin flip method. You can see I caught this pet just like it. This is a good example for a coin flip because, Counter-Strike here is a, mid-price talent. So if I essentially lose, if you will, the coin flip and get Counter-Strike, I'm fine with that because I can just sell it for a decent amount of coins. So this is pretty simple. You regenerate it down to 2 skills. This is already 2 skills, so I don't have to regenerate at all. And then I just release the pet. And I got Counter-Strike, but I'm not mad because I'm going to get, 159 coins for selling a 0-star skill. So I'm fine with that as well, all right? So when it comes to coin flips, this is the one big change in the data that I've seen since my last video. I am winning the coin flip, in other words, getting the talent skill only about 39% of the time. That's actually downward trends, and the sample size is actually significant enough now that I don't think it is a true coin flip. Now, the one thing I will say is that when it comes to the more expensive skills, like you just saw with that Counter-Strike example, I do actually win the more expensive skills more often than I win the cheap skills. So on cheap skills, I am winning the coin flip. In other words, getting the talent skill 41% of the time. Still less than half. But when it comes to more expensive skills, I'm only winning the coin flip 35% of the time. So I don't think it's weighted in terms of the value of the skill. I do kind of suspect at this point it might be weighted against the talent skill itself, however. All right, and that's the data report I have for this video. There's a couple questions that came up. The first is, when I get the 2-star talents, here it is, what do I do with it? In the rare circumstance where I have like a 3-star useless skill that just occurs on a pet in the second slot, I will build it up to 2 stars and risk the 2-star versus a 3-star. That doesn't happen like even every season. That happens like once every 2 or 3 seasons when I get lucky enough to get a 3-star in the second slot. When I caught a pet like this, 2 stars, or when I level up a pet to get the talent skill to 2 stars anyway, what I do is I get it to 2 stars on the pet, and then I take the pet, I'm leveling it up, and I consume it directly at the pet from the pet. Now you only get half value, right? If I had this 2-star talent like free and clear, I would get 1,000 points from it. Because it's on a pet, it's only 500 points. But I still I won't gamble these against a 2-star coin flip because it's just too painful when you lose them. And I won't waste it. I won't buy a 3-star skill or level up a 3-star skill to do it. So unless I get one naturally that I'm not going to use otherwise, I will just take it directly off the pet. So I essentially have to level it up 8 times, or in this case 7 times, because I got real lucky and caught a 2-star by itself. Okay, so honestly, most of the data seems pretty stable at this point in terms of the quality of the pet when you capture it, in terms of your chances for winning, the talent skill when you rig the deck. I don't think I'm going to track this data anymore. Like I said, it is pretty stable. But there are a couple other data points that I'm very interested in that I want to track, and that I have started to track, but I don't have enough data for it yet. The first is just the simple question: how many rolls does it take to get down to the 2 talent slots, right? When they did an update a while ago, I heard some people say that they've rigged it so you don't get the 2 skill slots very quickly. And so I've started to track how many times, so that's 1, it takes me to regenerate it down to get to 2 skill slots, right? So I have started tracking those numbers. I'm going to need a lot of data before I feel very confident about it. The other piece of data that I'm really, really interested in, and that I really didn't have a good idea of how to track before, is how does the level of the war pet influence the quality of the pet when you capture it, right? So what I have started to do, and I'm going to need a lot of data before I feel confident in this, is I'm going to track the quality of the pet as I capture it versus the level of the war pet. And, like I said in my last video, the actual quality, like in terms of, blue for rare or purple for epic or gold for legendary, that's almost meaningless when it comes to war pets. So I'm not going to track that. Instead, I'm going to track essentially the quality of the skills on the pet versus the level of the war pet itself. And what I'm mostly interested in is obviously the talent skill, but the number of skills the pet has and the number, the star level of the skills on the pet. Kind of always been assumed that the higher level war pets do tend to give you slightly better results. So what I'm going to do is, for the next several months, I am going to track the quality of the skills on pets I capture based on the level they have, do a bunch of math and present that data to you, right? It might be that it makes very little difference, just catch the first 5 or 6 or however many warrants you have pets you find. Or it might be that the higher level war pets actually are substantially better, and you should take the extra time if you can to try and catch as high level war pets as you can. All right, so that's what I'm working on now. That'll be sort of in my next big pet data video. Look for that probably in about 2 months or so. Anyway, that's all I got for you today, and until next time, you stay classy, Belleron.